There's no shortage today of companies translating digital technology and game-based learning into corporate training solutions. But when Syandus opened shop 15 years ago, that was not the case. Via their AliveSim platform, they create custom corporate training modules, typically revolving around soft skills. My name is Henry Kronk for eLearningInside, and this week on Ed Technically, I got in touch with Syandus CEO Doug Seifert to learn about how they started co-opting video game style simulations for workforce training in the first place.
My educational background is I have a PhD in biochemical engineering, so it seems like quite a large distance between biochemical engineering and what we're doing now. But actually, the engineering aspect has really been very helpful in building this learning methodology and technology. And it all started way back about 15 years ago when I was doing a lot of work in developing vaccines and complex immunology, and realized that there's this game technology out there in the entertainment sector. It's very powerful and immersive, and thought that if you could integrate that with the cognitive science of learning, you could really create a powerful learning medium. And so that's where it really started. We received a Small Business Innovation Research Award from the National Science Foundation, and that was in recognition of a innovative idea, and this was very new at the time. So we used that to start our research, and we've now received 8 these SBIR awards, and it allows us to really build this platform. And we've educated many thousands of doctors in continuing medical education, helping them understand differential diagnosis, optimal treatment pathways, by really immersing them in these realistic situations. And the NSF has this SBIR boot camp program where they're really helping you think about how you're developing the technology and your customers, and challenge us to really reach outside of what we were doing within the medical side and the science side. And that's where we really started thinking about corporate training as a great fit for what we're doing. We just did some market research, talked to a lot of companies out there, and it turned out there was a huge need on the corporate training side for what we did. So that's why we transitioned our platform, expanded our platform over into corporate training.
So I know all the Syandus training modules are custom built. Y'all don't offer off-the-shelf products. So just walk me through, how maybe a typical initial meeting is going to go down with somebody who's looking to provide training for their employees.
Yes, so the ideal customer fit for what we do is they have a training out there for an existing process. On the corporate training side, it could be a leadership development process, coaching process, it could be a sales process. And the challenge is, after that training's done, the knowledge recedes, and it really doesn't pull through to be changing behaviors in the workplace. And that gap is really what we fill with creating virtual practice and with personalized coaching. And so what we're doing is really taking their processes, understanding their process, creating virtual, realistic situations where their learners can go in and start making decisions, interacting with virtual humans, and get personalized feedback on those decisions. And the way it's designed, they start recognizing the optimal decision paths that the best performing experts, the best performers in the company are already using. And so then they can scale this across their whole organization and allow their employees then to experience the this virtual practice with their training. And so it really is trying to drive that training investment to maximize that training investment instead of letting it recede by not having it pull through to change behaviors in the workplace.
And so, it's not like corporate training is a new phenomenon by any stretch of imagination, but using these game-based virtual simulations, that's not something that's been going on for decades. Tell me a little bit about why Syandus, selected this as a model to deliver corporate training, and what are some of the benefits that it allows for as well?
So I think when we think about the virtual, this whole virtual practice or practice concept, what we're really doing is thinking about what would be the best situation to learn. It would be to interact with a mentor and having a mentor to be able to challenge you with situations, you respond, and then they provide some personalized coaching on and mentoring around what would be more optimal decisions. So you start to learn that way and over time. So how can we do this digitally? Because it's doing it one-on-one obviously is a scale issue. And that's one of the challenges, companies have. So when you want to do this digitally, what do you want to do? From a cognitive science standpoint, you want it to be, experiential and so really immersive. So not passive like a video. You want it to be something that's very engaging and feels like they're in it. And so when you think about what technologies could you choose, game technology has a great fit there because game technology is certainly immersive. It's very responsive. And what we found is it actually has what's called a game loop. And a game loop actually is the way the code works at every 60 times a second. It goes through a loop where it's taking inputs from the user and also from all the additional kind of the artificial intelligence built in about how it's going to respond, and then providing outputs. And so when you think about that from a learning perspective, it's fantastic because it's like a learning engine. So now what you have is set up a situation, then the learner's making decisions, and then it's reacting in real time with virtual humans responding to you in a very dynamic way. And so you're learning virtually. When we first started, the biggest challenge we had was, do they have graphics cards to be able to run 3D environments? And that was a real challenge. Now, we actually can run these game environments on any device, including a phone, and through a web browser. So we can now offer it to customers as essentially a software as a service where their learners can run it on any device. And so it really seems like a perfect match from a technology standpoint, from a delivery standpoint, can be delivered to any screen at any time, and also provide analytics on the back end because you can measure everything from all these decisions. So it seemed like a natural fit.
There are a lot of virtual and digital applications of corporate training coming out these days. A lot of people are using emerging technology like augmented reality and virtual reality. I understand that Syandus does not use that. Can you tell me a little bit more about the decision-making process behind, what modality to use?
Yes, I think we have done some research here on VR, and our developers actually are very excited about this technology, and it is exciting technology. We look at it from the standpoint of learning objectives. And what are your learning objectives? And then what technology fits best for those learning objectives? And that really drives what's the most appropriate investment. So when you look at VR and where the power of VR, it's really about emulating a physical environment where you can actually look around a physical environment. So there, the learning objectives would be that the physical environment is very important. For example, first responders and be able to respond to different situations. The environment is very important, obviously. So those examples where the physical environment's important, that's where you really want to invest in VR, because you are going to be investing in a headset, and it is very exciting and immersive, but you also have the headsets, and you have to invest in all that technology. So is that the right fit? For us, we're focused more around conversation. It's around, we work through processes that are in, like mentioned before, like sales processes or leadership development, like coaching processes, challenging situations. It's all around conversation. And there, it's really the focus with these virtual humans and dynamic conversation. It's not as turning around in the environment and seeing behind you, it doesn't really matter. So it doesn't really help to invest in in the technology, in the VR technology for that. So we really didn't thought that the best fit was to go with the technology and make it so it could be used on any screen, including mobile devices. So that was challenging to get to mobile devices. And then second, to get it to web browsers so you don't have to worry about apps and installing apps and all that, those issues with scaling the content.
With a lot of new technology, as things become more developed, costs drop, they become more viable for different consumers, different users, etc. This is more of a blue sky question, but how far do you think that's going to go with corporate training? Or do you think that this is going to become accessible to smaller companies and even startups in the future?
Yeah. Well, that's a great question. There's a number of different ways to approach this. I think one way to think about this is, right now, a lot of the immersive technologies that are out there, and it's the way we started as well. It's completely custom. You start with a blank sheet of paper, and they say, well, we can do anything for you. And when you do that, it's very costly to do that because it's custom, and it also takes a lot of time. So when you have a situation like that, that does not lend itself to just anyone doing it, and that it's only big budgets. So really what you want to do is, and what we've done is really focused on what really, from all this custom work we've done, what really works and what is really needed, and then focus on that. For instance, we realized very early on that you have these 3D environments, but walking around a 3D environment doesn't really help with the type of learning we were doing. So we limited that and focused on the parts of that environment that were immersive, that we needed to do. By doing that and creating a platform that does specific things, you can lower the cost significantly. That's really what our focus has been on. And as you mentioned before, I think with the cost, is if you wanted something to be custom to your own environment, not be one size fits all solution, kind of off the shelf solution, then there has to be a way to really very quickly and economically build experiences for every company. So we've been working on doing that, and one of the things we're working on down the road, hopefully next year, I think, well, for sure next year, is that we're going to allow customers to be able to start editing their own content within our platform. And then eventually they'll be able to build their own 3D virtual environments and for training within the platform. And that's really exciting because we don't want to be, what we want to do is provide this platform. We don't want to be the ones that have to control the content. Right now we facilitate getting their content in the platform, but eventually they'll be able to do it themselves.
This has been Ed Technically, the weekly podcast from eLearningInside. My name is Henry Kronk. If you like this episode, please rate and review. If you want to hear more, please subscribe. Also, keep in mind that this show is available as a video on our YouTube channel and also as a podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and Spotify. The basic content for this video first appeared as an article on eLearningInside, and if you want to learn more about online courses, technology in the classroom, and EdTech in general, be sure to check out our site. It's updated every day. If you'd like to get in touch with me, please send an email to henry@elearninginside.com. You can also follow us on Twitter @eLearningInside. Thanks for listening.